Joe Biden has been having a rocky time. The whole point of Joe Biden, I've always said, I think Joe Biden was somebody who was always going to be formidable. I never doubted it for a minute. And some of the things that people don't like about Joe Biden, frankly, are not things that are going to be translatable to wider audiences. It's extremely important, I think, because I don't look. On one hand, yes, some of the stuff is not ideological. Of course, it's temperament, it's style, it's the way they respond to people. Conversely, I'm quite confident that if Bernie Sanders was traveling across the country with the same presentation and the same person saying, we need to get serious about reining in entitlements, he would not be the most popular politician in the country. So let's not be delusional and oversell that argument. It is a fusion of both. And actually, in the best cases, you have a seamlessness between your public brand and how you communicate and what you represent ideologically. That is a very significant advantage that Bernie Sanders has. There's a seamlessness from his life story, his total commitment, even when it was marginalized, in the Reagan and Clinton eras, the Bush eras, and even most of the Obama era. And then the fact that, he has the plans and the agenda. In Joe Biden's case, there is a lot of people, I would say, who actually still think that this guy, that the middle class brand is what properly represents him, and that because he served with President Obama, and because he can point to certain very not bold areas, but narrow areas of liberal votes and initiatives, that he's someone who is instinctually and stylistically on the side of middle working class people.
Bernie needs to get on stage with Biden and say to him, what is the middle class? What are you talking about? Who are these people?
Did the middle class need you to make bankruptcy impossible? Did the middle class in the places that you constantly represent benefit from every single trade agreement you've pushed for your whole career? That's the area where I will believe, and I don't hold this against voters at all. This is our job and politicians' jobs. But I think that just as if you poll a lot of people on Republican proposals, and it's a disturbing thing that you get in focus groups, you can do a focus group, and some people will literally not believe that Republicans are proposing what they're proposing because they don't think anybody could be that much of an asshole. So in a more mild way, I bet that there's plenty of people who would say, I mean, Joe Biden, he rides Amtrak. He, in 2016, by the way, gave some very smart, and it was strategic, but he gave some very smart and even laudatory talks briefly about Bernie. When he went to the Rose Garden, said he wasn't running for president. He said if he was running for president, and it was totally contradictory because he talked all the Obama bipartisanship stuff, but on the other hand, he actually talked about stagnating incomes, labor, and wages. That's actually what he centered. So I think that there's plenty of people who might not know the full and complete details of what this man has done for the credit card industry, for trade agreements. And that's when the rubber meets the road. That's when there's a seamlessness of presentation and ideology. And there's a lot of room, and Sanders should be hitting him hard on that, and Warren should be hitting him hard on that. I think that this has happened to an extent with civil rights, and the fact that the man himself generated a whole conversation about his 1970s anti-civil rights record by relentlessly bragging about his tight friendships with some of the worst people in American history. I have a sense that if you do the same thing on credit cards, on trade, the response that he has will be as not compelling as this. This is Joe Biden at the NAACP saying, I couldn't have been that bad.
This is not a continuation of our administration. What it is there's new problems. There's new problems we face today that were different than the ones we faced at the time. But the fact of the matter is he's a close friend. I'm very proud to have served with him. And I might add, if he thought it was good enough for me they did a significant background check on me for months with 10 people. I doubt whether he would have picked me if this accusations about my being wrong on civil rights was correct.
Well, first of all, of course, the reality is that even then, the politics of how race was represented in the Democratic primary was completely different. And there was no doubt that tactically part of the pick of Joe Biden was to soothe certain parts of the white electorate. So his pick might actually be proving a very different point. And as he said himself, we're in a different time now.
Might want to cool it on that argument, Joe.
Might want to cool on that argument. All right, since we're not going to be able to get to any